Berenstein,
Here.
Bertrand, Rayford,
Here.
Shaner, Scott.
Here, could we stand for a moment of silent prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Jim and Deb Carson, can you meet me at the podium, please? Okay, I'll check, but it didn't clear it. Okay, we have a proclamation for the Sioux City Garden Club. It was founded on February 16, 1926 by community members dedicated to the advancement of gardening, horticultural education, and beautification of Sioux City. Whereas for 100 years, the Sioux City Garden Club has inspired generations of residents to cultivate a love of gardening, stewardship of the environment, and appreciation for the natural beauty that enriches our community. Whereas the club has contributed immeasurably to Sioux City through public beautification projects, educational programs, garden tours, plant sales, and community partnerships that strengthen civic pride and enhance the quality of life for all who live, work, and visit here. Whereas in celebration of 100 years, the club has undertaken special centennial initiatives, including planting and distribution of bur oak trees as a lasting gift to future generations, symbolizing the club's deep roots and enduring commitment to Sioux City. Now, therefore, I, Robert E. Scott, Mayor of the City of Sioux City, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council, do recognize the 100th anniversary of the Sioux City Garden Club in Sioux City and encourage all our citizens to join in celebrating the club's remarkable legacy and its continued contributions to the vitality and beauty of our community. I want to present that to you guys and say thank you, Mayor, for your hard work and say a few words.
Go ahead, Jim, say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since we saw you on the riverfront planting a tree early in the fall, we've put 60 in the ground, so we're 40 more to go yet. We appreciate all the support and help from the city that we receive. We want to thank MERD too, because they supplied the funds to purchase the trees. And it's just with the different things going on with the trees that are dying and on the hit list, bur oak trees are not on those. So they'll be sustaining 400 years into the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
We appreciate it. We're going to go to interviews. Jacob Wonderscheid, Executive Fiscal and Public Policy Committee.
Hello, everybody. Again, Jacob Wonderscheid. Just a quick part. I did talk to Teresa, and we think that, again, I didn't think I was doing my part for the committee the last time if I had to join online, but that is allowable, so we kind of dissuaded that. But again, a lot of the work that we had worked on before was really, I think, meaningful to me, but we got to work on kind of started parking lot situations, used car and car dealers, and really look forward to helping the city again. Again, Executive Director of the Food Bank of Siouxland. I do have a master's degree in public administration and think I could still be a good service to the city.
I'm glad we were able to work this out because I know you've been an effective member, and I know it was a timing issue more than anything. And so I'm glad that we were able to work. I'm glad to welcome you back. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Julian Kosovo Sister City Committee, Patrick McKinley. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for giving me some time this afternoon. My name is Patrick McKinley. I'm a professor of political science at Morningside University, and I'm very excited to be a part of the Sister City relationship with Jillian. I've been teaching European politics for over 30 years. I've been studying Kosovo and the dynamics in that region for nearly 4 decades. Been involved in studying various dynamics of not only what's happening in the region. I've had opportunities to interact with members of their the local council and also with members of their educational institutions. And I think the opportunities for the connections, I've had the privilege of being a part of some of the activities with our Yamanashi City, sister city activities. Went with a group of students to Japan a couple of years ago. So I see the value of what this can bring to Sioux City and also how we can share our experiences with our friends in Kosovo.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll go to the consent agenda. Today, those items are 3 through 12C. You can consider that they pass unanimously unless a separate roll call vote is requested by a council member. If you want to speak on an agenda item, please come to the podium at the time the item is being discussed. If you want to speak on an item not on the agenda, please come up under citizen concerns. Always remember to state your name for the record.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Second.
Second.
3 is a reading of the February 2nd and 3rd City Council minutes. 4 is a resolution approving the application of the U.S. Department of Transportation's Better Utilizing Investments to Leverage Development Program grant for the Bacon Creek Conduit Relocation Project. 5 is a resolution authorizing payment to Ward Electric for the Tyson Event Center lighting and heat tape project. 6 is a resolution inviting proposals for the granting of a sign easement in certain land in the combined Floyd River urban renewal area, announcing the intent to accept the proposal of Mid-America Energy and scheduling a hearing the vacated property adjacent to 5500 28th Street. 7 is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Gov Connection for the Extreme Network switches and supporting accessories. 8 are actions relating to boards, commission, and committees. A is a motion reappointing Stacy Alex to the Museum Board of Trustees. B is a motion appointing and reappointing Nikki McLaughlin to the Parking and Skywalk System Board of Trustees. 9 are actions adopting construction documents. A is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the annual manhole replacement project. B is a resolution adopting plans and specs for the Lion Park Investment Area Sidewalk Improvement Project. 10 are actions relating to agreements and contracts. A is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with CMBA Architects for the Martin Luther King Transportation Center elevator modernization.
Mayor, can I ask a question? Is there anybody here on this item?
I can help you.
So my question, Mike, and I'm not opposed, but when I read the materials, I'm assuming this is the replacement of an elevator.
It is. It's modernization of the elements.
So in hiring an architect, wouldn't we be better off just putting out a request for proposals and getting an elevator company with the expertise in these systems to tell us what we need, as opposed to spending $68,000 to hire an architect to tell us what we need? I mean, I would just think that.
So we have to create plans and specs, first of all, to design it, and then go out for bid, and then have to have somebody oversee the project. It'll probably be a general, because there's code updates when you modernize it as well. So that's why the mechanical and electrical is part of
Okay.
it. So it'll most likely be a general that'll team up with an elevator company.
Okay.
I've got Dan Munch here as well from CMBA, if there's any further specific.
What's the estimate on this?
The estimate is $475.
Okay. B is a resolution approving a contract to T.R. Harris Construction for the South Apron Reconstruction Phase 2 project at the airport. C is a resolution approving amendment number 1 to the consulting services agreement with Kirkham Michaels and Associates for the replat of Highland Park. D is a resolution approving.
Mayor, can we talk about that one for a quick second? C, just had a couple
It
quick.
only started in 1985. We're not.
Stephen.
That was going to be one of my questions too.
Well, I'd argue we started in about 1890 when the thing was platted originally, but.
And that is the issue, right? That in 1890, when the properties were platted, they weren't platted properly.
Well, Stephen Pistolka, City Legal, they weren't platted in accord with the natural topography of the site. And accordingly, that plat was not followed over the ensuing 100 years. And basically what we're doing is going through and attempting to fix that issue right now. The contract before you tonight, or rather the amendment to it, is to pay for work that Kirk and Michael has in fact done. They just ran over the amount that was originally budgeted by about $3,800. We will be looking to bring another contract forward, or possibly another amendment to this one, to actually get this work done, at least as to phase one. It's been tough going, as you've probably all known. But again, this tonight is just to pay for work that has actually been done up to this date.
Okay, so it's just that. Oh, that was kind of my biggest question, and then we'll get another bid or quote or update on going forward, whatever needs to be done.
Correct.
All right.
And the end result will be that the property lines will be all corrected, documented on Beacon, and when someone needs to sell their property, they'll have a clean slate to be able to do that.
Clean title, yes.
Yes.
I'm not joking, we did start this in '88, I believe.
And then we restarted it since I've been on council.
Yeah, so
Gotta get it
we need a date certain when will the people out there know where their property line is?
Well, if it was started in '88, I was born in '89, so I'm not responsible for that.
Well, I was here, so I am, so I want it done.
Phase one is ready to go to planning and zoning. We would need additional money for setting monuments and for probably doing additional, like a lien search to make sure nothing's changed since we started this, because it was started a while ago. But phase one is ready to go for, the replat for phase one is ready to go to P&Z right now.
Okay, but how many phases are there?
I planned it out to do it in 5 phases. Phase
many?
1, 5.
So you're not gonna get it done in 2 years.
It depends on a lot of things, working with lien holders, making sure properties aren't landlocked, which a lot of them are right now. There's been a lot of negotiations with people on the ground, and there'll have to continue to be.
Yeah, this turned out to be a lot more complex than we thought it was going to be we thought we're just going to
Be
correct the
complex.
lines.
Day one, it's a
Yeah.
mess out there.
Yeah.
I'm still plugging away.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Stephen.
D is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with FEH Design for the Long Lines Family Recreation Center loading dock aerial structural concrete repair projects. So by voting for this, we're saying we're gonna spend $897,000 to fix that building, basically.
I actually had the same question. I'm glad.
Matt Salvatore, Parks and Recreation Director. So, yeah, this phase is estimated up to $850,000, and then their cooling tower that's slated for next year is another $365,000.
But I think it also begs the broader question about what our long-term plans are with
Yes.
that building.
I
And
think in order to talk about that, you're going to have a plan to move into. Yes, I agree 100%. There's no current plan right now to what would happen if that facility wasn't there.
Matt,
And these are immediate repairs that need to happen.
Matt,
These
you've
are
got
immediate?
thoughts on that, haven't you, about tearing it down?
Yes.
Yeah, why don't you share them?
Well, we lose between $250,000 and $300,000 a year on operations, and then we have over $1 million in capital coming up. But I think to put something back to house all of everything that Tyson Event Center uses out of that facility, you're looking at a substantial investment as well. I just don't know what that looks like.
it's both housing your needs of personnel and activities, but it's also, the auditorium serves as the east wall for the event center, correct?
Yeah, I think the biggest need is not only that, but there's operational things that
Yeah.
the Tyson Event Center houses out of that building that you would have to get put back. So it's not as simple as just getting rid of the building.
There's kitchen, there's storage, there's lots
Muskie's office, Bandit's office,
of integral part of the Tyson.
life safety office, there's lots of moving parts. It's a complicated issue.
So the urgency
But the
to,
repairs need immediate attention.
okay.
So a plan, I think, should still be put together for the future, but right now, I don't know that we have much of a choice but to move forward.
With the whole 800,000?
Okay, E is a resolution approving
Thank you.
amendment number 1 to the consulting services agreement with McClure Engineering for the Plywood Trail Phase 3 project. F is a
I
resolution.
want to ask just a question for this one, Mr. Mayor. Also, Just looking at, I mean, it seems that we were always asking for additionals, money and all of that. But is this Matt? Is this you? Okay. And it looks like you are, another additional 40 weeks, or you're asking for additional funding for another 40 weeks, right?
Yes, well, the project is actually complete. Well, not the project, but the paving is complete. So there's some finish work that needs to be done, some grading, some vegetation, but the trail itself has been poured. There was some delays with this project. There was quite a few railroad permits that were delayed, which added time. And then actually flooding in June of 2024 occurred, which halted construction. So that's the reason for the added time. And it's the largest trail project in the history of Woodbury County, so it's 3 miles or so. And the contractor performed excellent on that job. Just need a little bit time here this spring to get things finished up.
Okay, I just wanted some clarification there.
Yep, and this is completely funded by Destination Iowa and private funding, so there's no cost to the city of Sioux City.
Thank you.
Yep.
F is a resolution approving the assignment and/or transfer agreement consenting to the name change of KPA Services to Novera Software.
Good, just a quick question. Is there anybody on this item? I know it's just an assignment, but the question is, are we still dealing with the same people on the on the relationship side?
Janelle Bertrand, Human Resources Director. Yes, we are.
Okay. Thank you.
G is a resolution approving a contract with Municipal Pipe Tool Company for the utility lining project. If you look at the airport and this one, everything's under budget. I don't know why we aren't getting more plans out the door, but we'll wait till July till we get high bids. It's just amazing to me how we do business here. But H is a resolution awarding an annual agreement for concrete construction services to Ellison Construction as a primary contractor for the utilities concrete construction project. I is a resolution awarding an annual agreement for concrete construction services to A&F Construction as a secondary contractor for utilities contract construction project.
So H and I blend together. How do you manage the primary and secondary provider other than availability?
That's it. That's why we do two.
Gordon Ferris, city engineer. That's basically it, through availability. And
So is the 600 and 400 split in anticipated availability, and you manage around that? Because
You mean for the total cost?
Yes.
Yes. We'll start off with Ellison and go from there.
Thanks, Gordon.
J is a resolution approving renewal option number 1 with the service provider agreement with Gill Hauling for the city's facility solid waste and recycling collection and disposable agreement. I didn't get an answer back, Teresa. Help me. And I left the memo on my back door. I hung it up so I'd be sure and bring it, and I didn't. So at a 3% increase, what's the ending cash balance? And have that?
Teresa Fitch, Finance Director. I did send a response. It might have went to your wrong email, maybe. I don't know off the top of my head, but let me look for you here.
This one is for the city facilities. Are we talking about J? This one's for the city facilities to pick up the trash at our city facilities. There's no change to the price on this one.
Where's their contract at?
That's at the end of the day.
Well, okay, then you'll be prepared. I want to know what 1, 2, and
Yep, I'll get it
3%
for you.
means. Okay. 11 are application for alcohol license. 12 are boards, commission, and committee minutes. Anyone to be heard on any of those items? Vote. Okay. Passes 4-1, Bertrand votes no. Recommendations of Planning and Zoning, 13 is a motion accepting the Planning and Zoning Commission's approval of the proposed FY 2031 capital improvement program regarding the conformance of the proposed project to the comprehensive plan. I'll move that.
Second.
Passes 5-0. 14 is a hearing and ordinance rezoning 709 Iowa Street. The petitioners Todd and Linda Calvillo. P and Z recommends approval. I'll move it.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing,
14.
Yes, the owner, Todd Cavillo, my wife and I have a business, it's Tri-State Properties here in Sioux City, LLC. Just trying to create some housing for the community, you know, so it was a building that was unoccupied for a while, so we bought the building and wanted to change it over to multifamily, so abide by the codes and get a property fixed up for some people here in Sioux City.
I think it's a great project. I'm sorry, Julie, go ahead.
Great project. Very happy to.
Yeah, I've done several red tags here in Sioux City and, you know, just trying to make a better place. I lived here when I was a kid, but unfortunately I'm living in South Sioux City right now. Maybe I'll get back over
We'd welcome
here,
you back.
Yeah,
So
just
can
want to create some good places here.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, sir.
I agree with Julie. This is a really nice project, especially in that area. I think you can improve that area. One of the comments from one of the neighbors, I believe, was that they were concerned about families renting multi-facilities. Is that an issue that you've seen or that Neighborhood Services has seen as an issue?
Not at all. I own a duplex there on the corner of 7th Street on Court and have great tenants there, you know, so I believe this is going to really help
Great.
Sioux City out, you know. All right.
Hey, Todd.
Thank you.
Todd, real quick. Todd,
Yes.
how's the process been so far?
Well,
Going
so
through
far,
so far so good? Feeling good?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I had a permit for removal of an old building on the back side of that property. So I just got that done, and I got to get an inspector over here just to inspect that. But, you know, just to create some parking in the back. And
So, Todd, why'd you buy the property?
Just, I like working on properties here in Sioux City.
Did you buy it to make a little money?
I did.
You know what? That's the main deal. Let's make you some money here.
Yes,
and
make some
you know what?
money.
Make some money so you can go spend some more money.
Well, once I do this one, there'll be more.
And so the goal up here, this new council is to continue to get these barriers out of your way. So if issues arise and if there's unreasonable resistance, please come and tell us or reach out. We want to make sure that this is smooth and easy. You get on to the next one and spend some more money and make some more money.
Right. I believe in that too. I'm a firm believer.
Have fun.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
hearing's now closed. Passes 5-0. Is anybody opposed to waiving the statutory rule?
No.
Move it.
Bertrand.
Aye.
Rayford.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Berenstein.
Aye.
Second and third.
Second.
Rayford.
Aye.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott. Berenstein.
Aye.
Bertrand.
Aye.
15 is a hearing and resolution approving a proposal to sell the east half of the vacated north-south alley adjacent to 513 Collins Streets. The petitioner's executive properties. I'll move that.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 5-0. 16 is a hearing and resolution approving a proposal to sell property commonly known as 24 and 24 and a half J Avenue. The petitioners Todd and Galena Pedersen, trustees of the Todd Pedersen and Galena Pedersen Revocable Trust. Somebody will have to move that.
I'll move it.
Second.
Public hearing's now open. Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, the hearing is closed. Passes 4-0 to 1. I abstain. Conflict of interest. Ordinances 17's and ordinance amending chapter 4.84 of the municipal code entitled Body Piercing Regulations. I'll move first reading.
Second.
Anyone to be heard? Seeing none, we can vote. Passes 5-0. Anybody opposed to waiving statutory rule?
No.
Nope.
Move it.
Second.
Shaner.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye.
Berenstein.
Aye.
Bertrand.
Aye.
Rayford.
Aye.
Move second and third.
Second.
Scott. Berenstein.
Aye.
Bertrand.
Aye.
Rayford.
Aye.
Shaner.
18's an ordinance amending chapter 5.20 entitled Solid Waste of Municipal Code. I'll move first reading.
Second.
Okay, ladies.
Teresa Fitch, Finance Director. So the mayor had asked today what a 1%, 2%, or 3% increase would do. Currently, right now, the proposed fund balance at the end of FY27 will be $633,620. 1% would bring it to $691,939. 2% would bring it to $750,250. And 3% would bring it to $808,578.
And what's an acceptable level? I know what you're going to say, but I still have to ask the question. What?
This is not an enterprise, we don't consider this an enterprise fund with a, I mean, it's enterprise, but we don't require it to have a fund balance in it.
Okay. So why do we need more than 691?
I don't know that we do. Are you talking about for,
Well, you're proposing a 3% increase.
you're talking about increase for your,
That's under the contract.
that's under the contract to pay for Gil Hauling. They're coming up a 3% increase, so we'll have a 3% increase
Yeah, you guys
because we
passed that
just
like
passed
2
it
years ago,
along.
didn't you? Yeah, we ain't got no say in it, do we?
Well, you got to say in what the rates are, though.
I don't think
Well,
so.
No.
We passed that along, whatever the cost
That's
that.
a small
they're-
graduated
they're
rate.
agreeing
was
with
a-
it.
They get an increase, but are you proposing to increase the fee to the people?
If this passes, we'll increase to our fund.
Yeah.
This is not a part of the fund, so whatever the increase is here, we will pass that on to the consumer, yes.
Okay.
But that's not a part
Solid
of this.
waste, where does this money come from?
Well, we bill it out to the consumer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Mm-hmm.
why is the fund increasing? What am I missing here? That's what I tried to ask you
So
today.
the proposed FY27 number does not have any of her proposal in it right now because it's not passed with the ordinance. So if we don't do an increase, the fund will actually reduce because we're not passing on the expense, the increased expense, which is fine if that's what the council wants to do.
Question is
Just
whether we pass it
asking you.
along or not.
So the increase is coming no
Correct.
matter what, and who absorbs
They're-
it is the
Who's
question.
it's gonna come, but if you don't have to increase it to people, just because they're raising the fee,
Right,
it's still got to be collected by us. We
Right.
collect the
Right.
money.
correct.
So
Yep.
why is our fund ending with more money if all we're doing is passing it through? What am I missing? I
I think that's just a timing thing, that the fund has balance in it. But we can absorb it. So what we've always done is just passed on the 3% and not utilize the fund balance. So you're looking to ask to utilize the fund balance to keep the residents' increases down.
exactly what I'm asking.
Yep, we can certainly do that.
And if it's going to end at 633 and it's basically a pass-through, they're going to get paid no matter what. And if we don't increase these rates, we're still going to have 633,000 in there.
Well, it'll go down a little bit, it'll eat away at it because their rate's gonna go up, correct? So as their rate
Well,
goes
that was
up,
what I was asking you today.
okay, so as their rate goes up, the fund will get, I thought you meant an increase to our citizens. So the fund,
The fund will be reduced by the 3% under the CPI adjustment that goes to the
Right,
contract.
I get
Yep.
that, but it's still, I want to know that's what I was asking today, is what the fund balance will do if we don't increase.
We don't charge.
Oh, I thought
we
you
don't
meant if
pass
we
it through.
increased it. I apologize.
So I don't want to waive the rules, because I want answers to
Okay.
that.
Yep, I
You
apologize. I didn't
my
understand.
question?
Yep, I do now.
didn't
Yes,
make it
thank
very
you.
clear. It's on me.
Sorry about that.
But if we don't have, I don't care what they're getting.
Yep.
I care what our citizens are paying. That's what I care.
Under the 3%, they're getting about 50 cents more to their bill.
Yeah, and if we don't have to do.
Right, I agree, I understand.
So I'll run it the
That's what the
opposite way for you,
3% is.
like we're using the fund balance instead of increasing. Yes, and I can send that out to
That's what I wanna know.
council.
Are we gonna
I
bring it
apologize. I
back?
didn't
No,
understand that
I should
appropriately.
have asked it.
Okay.
Okay, we're
Nope,
good.
I will send that out so you guys have that.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, first reading only then.
Okay.
Passes 4-1, Bertrand votes no. 19 is a resolution approving a consulting services agreement with Teton Ridge Consulting for the redevelopment of property located at 100 Pierce Street, 112 Pierce Street, and 124 Pierce Street, deferred from February 2nd, 2026.
Renee Billings, Economic Development Manager. Oh, sorry.
We got to get a motion.
Yep.
I'll move it.
Second.
We just wanted to provide a real brief overview of the consultant so that you all have information. So Teton Ridge Consulting is the consulting group that we are looking to use. Steve Watson is the managing partner who will be working closely with us throughout this process. He was formerly with the Governor's Office of Economic Development for the state of South Dakota. He was also a development strategist with ISG, which is a large architectural and engineering firm based out of Sioux Falls. And he has played a significant role in several of the recent downtown development projects in Sioux Falls. So he has extensive experience with what it's like to develop in the Midwest, so we thought he was a really great fit for this. A couple projects that he's worked on we just wanted to share with you. Sharapa Place is a $225 million, 7-acre mixed-use development in Sioux Falls, adjacent to the Big Sioux River. It includes several buildings that have Class A office space, apartments, condos, retail, restaurant, entertainment, and public parking ramp. So this is just kind of an idea of what a project that he's worked on and the capacity and scale of what he can do. The second project that we have here for you is the Switchyard. It's a $95 million, 4-acre mixed-use development on a former rail yard land. The city actually acquired this land and received proposals for development. They've selected Christensen Development, who is based out of Des Moines, and Steve Watson is working closely with them on this project. It'll include 230 apartments, office and retail space, and a parking ramp. So just for your, to give you kind of an idea, the site we're working on is also 4 acres, so we could potentially be looking at a very large scale, up to $1 million project here, if we can, identify the right projects. So some of the redevelopment opportunities that we see could include anything from residential to office, retail, restaurants, entertainment, and so on. The idea will be to analyze the market and identify what the community needs are and what the market demands are so that we can identify the best project and the highest and best use for the site. So with
a lot of people, when they do these, they say to 5 or 6 or whatever, you put out a request, bring us a plan that what you think's best for that site, and then the community decides, and they eat the cost. I mean, this building was an example of that. The convention center was an example of that. And when you say they're working in conjunction, I wonder what that means. Did they actually develop the plan and then went and found the contractors? I don't understand why you just don't put out a request, let 5 or 6 people with great ideas bring it back, and then we look at it as a community, because we're limiting ourselves to one group, and we've got to hope that they get it right, where if you had 4 or 5 different groups, you might get some great ideas and a better plan, and a developer at the same time that you wouldn't have to go necessarily find.
This item was deferred last week because for some of the very similar reasons that the mayor's explaining. But when it was presented last week, I'd not heard of Teton Ridge. I'd not heard of Steve Watson. I was a little concerned, not having any background on him, but also the question of whether we should be sending this out for bids and proposals to get a better sense, as the mayor's saying, either get a broader sense of what others are thinking about this project, what can be done in this area. After meeting with Steve last Tuesday, I was very impressed. I think he's got tremendous skills, tremendous background. I don't disagree with the mayor that if we wanted to go the route of asking for bids and getting 4 or 5 developers and contractors to make suggestions, but I think it's important that we, recognizing that this is still a $53,000 consulting agreement, which I don't minimize. That's a lot of money, but in the scope of the nature of this project, which, Renee, to your point, could be, I think one of the projects that you put up was a $225 million project. But if you look at under the consulting agreement what they're going to do, I think it in large part addresses many of the needs, but also gives us a lot of leverage and latitude to continue to define, redefine, and then define and redefine who the parties and the stakeholders are going to be. So I think more than anything what this does is it allows us to start moving forward now rather than, say, 3 or 4 months away. Is that a fair statement, Marty and Renee? If you were to send it out to bid?
I'm not talking about bidding. I don't care about bidding.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I think on this one, I think I'm with you for a couple of reasons. Number one, the purchase of this property, again, this is something that this new council inherited, right or wrong or indifferent. We seemed that we needed to purchase this property. We're still, what, 2 years away from vacating the current leases. Now we signed another with Mosaic, so what are we, 2 years away from any type of a demo, right?
December of '27, the leases
Yeah.
go through.
So I'm kind of with Mr. Mayor. I mean, I get that this is expertise, and you guys have a great presentation, Ray. And I think these are the right experts if we need them. But I also think that, you know what? I mean, it just seemed like we were in a big hurry to get this bought. Why don't we've got about 18 months to see who's going to step up? Sounds like the Siouxland Initiative was really excited about this. See who comes to the table in the next 12, 15 months. We can always reject it if we say, nah, we don't want to do that, we don't do that. And then I think at some point, if we get 15, 18 months into this, and then we want to hire someone like this because we've run our local wells dry, then I think we take, but just to jump in right now, again, the perception of the public is we're just kind of throwing money at consultant after consultant as you read down this agenda. And not saying this isn't the right move and won't be the right move down the road, but again, the city bought this property, we're 2 years stuck in it, why don't we send it out to locals and see what local ideas come in? It was such a great idea to buy it, and then let's give the local guys a shot at it, and then if we need an expert 15, 18 months in, then we hire it and figure it out. It's not going anywhere.
But isn't he going to reach out to local developers and stakeholders
Yes.
as well to get ideas and see who's interested? So they'll be included in his process.
That's exactly right. This is phase 1A of many steps to come, and this is recognizing that Steve has the ability to identify and bring stakeholders together. Renee, you've got up on the screen what the consulting services agreement is going to provide. And I think if you look at 1 through 6, I think it's helpful to put into perspective what this phase is going to indicate, because if we wait 18 months when we're getting ready to raise the property and start moving forward, we're going to be another 18 months behind. Everything that we can do, and I respect the fact that maybe Teton Ridge isn't the only consultant. I'm sure there are others. But at the same time, he's got an extremely significant resume with regard to the projects that he's worked on, and I think that we will be well ahead of the curve in moving forward on this project to give him the latitude to start identifying everything that we've talked about today.
So I guess I would just add, Renee outlined the steps up there that we are proposing to do with the consultant. I think they do incorporate a lot of what everybody's saying here. At the end of the day, we want the best possible project we can get, the most capital investment. If it's a group of local people, that's fantastic. I mean, we're all for that. We're just trying to get to, the first part of this is really, Steve, we're not proposing to hire him to choose the developer. We're proposing to take the steps to get everybody together, to reach out to the local stakeholders, local community, the council, chamber, everybody involved in this as we can, but also to go out and look for developers, to look for people with the means to do a $100 million project. I mean, that's ambitious for Sioux City. But it is 4 acres right at the front door of Sioux City, and I guess we're just anxious to get started. We think it will, ultimately, I think what we're all saying, it's going to be a lot of that same process of talking to developers, getting the most interest we can, and finding our way to that ultimate proposal that you all agree on and the community all agrees on is the best use of that land, whether that's we think it's a mixed use of some kind. Some of the pictures that she was showing from Sioux Falls are unbelievable project that may not be the right fit for us. Maybe it's got some more of that entertainment part of it that's shown in some of the other photographs. So we're just really excited and anxious to get started, and everyone on the council will have, under the proposal, outlined multiple places where the council will be involved in terms of defining what our goals are and picking a concept plan and ultimately doing an RFP and choosing a developer. We sort of followed a similar process with the Badger building, which I think ended up with a good result. We ended up with three serious proposals, and then eventually chose one and sold the building at a profit, actually, and then
we
got
didn't hire a
significant.
consultant.
Pardon?
We didn't.
We did.
Who?
The $60,000 guy out of.
Hunden Strategic
We
Consultant.
used Rob Hunden out of Chicago. Cost was similar to this. I think it was $60,000 plus expenses, and he was the guy that his group helped us with the convention center, hotel, and all that. So we had that came right on the heels of that. So, but it just helped us identify developers. We ultimately found one from Omaha that did a fantastic job on the building, and this is a little more expansive. I think this is more ambitious. This is, you know, maybe multi buildings, possibly if there's enough room, and similar to what we've seen in Sioux Falls and other places. Really, it's a stretch. We're going out there talking about maybe some Class A office space, some entertainment venues, housing. You know, a really high-end development. It's going to take some steps and some involvement from community leaders, not only the city council but other community leaders, to get the best plan. So we're not trying to say what that is today. We're just trying to get the process started and get moving on it. So.
And Renee, what we talked about in our economic development meeting today, that my suggestion or my ask was, if, let's say he puts it out to 20 contacts that he has that are known to do projects like this, can we ask him to allow them to also include their own RFP, their own concept? You know, because by the time he puts it out there and he says, okay, you know, they're interested in Class A office building and this or that, if this developer that he sends it to, if they have another vision for the project that they'd like to pitch, can we work that in or no?
Yeah, I'm sure we can put whatever we want into the proposal if we.
But that's why are you doing that? If that developer wants to do that, then why would you just not ask them to team up with somebody like we did with this building? I mean, this building's a classic example that when
we don't know who those developers are, and he does. He has those contacts.
Okay.
We know some. I mean, of course, we can reach out. We just thought maybe to maximize it and to get as much interest as we can. I agree with the mayor. I think, you know, there is a more direct approach, but taking these steps we thought might ultimately end up with a better result. At the end of the day, there's going to be X amount of developer interest, and gauging that and deciding the best concept ultimately would be the council's decision.
Thank you for putting that together at the last minute. I appreciate that. I know I put
Thanks,
that on
Marty.
late.
Thanks, Marty.
Sure.
Paul Koskovich. I was just curious, like, why we're not considering local, put an RFP to see if there's a local firm here that wants to.
We are.
No. In place of Steve.
Oh.
Okay. I mean, again, property taxes here are outrageous. Like, right? I mean, why are we not soliciting companies that actually pay taxes here first? Maybe there's not a company. Then you can pursue that. But I mean, let's start with seeing if there's someone here local that's got the experience, capacity, interest to do this, first of all. I mean, going right up the road and not even considering who lives in our backyard is silly. Secondly, I mean, I strongly disagree here. I mean, the internet's a great tool. I mean, it's not hard to find who does these projects. I mean, Google's a great thing, right? I don't know why we need to pay $53,000 to find these people. It's not hard. I mean, whether you look Sioux Falls, Minneapolis, Des Moines, Kansas City, it's pretty simple. Why do we need to do this? It's a waste of money. Totally against this. And I want an answer why we're not considering local people here. Why we have to go right up the road first, instantly, to somebody that doesn't pay taxes here. Why?
Guess we'll wait and see how we vote, because maybe some of us aren't voting for it.
Well, I understand that, but why can't we get at least some feedback? I just want to know that from somebody, anybody.
Well, Economic Development Team did the research. They are familiar with the guy and his work. They recommend that we give it a shot to get outside of our own heads. It's going to give local people the opportunity to work, to put a bid in, put their ideas in, so it's local and expanded. And we're paying $43,000 of the $53,000. We got Mid-American to kick in. That's the reason, and I support it.
Okay, I guess, could we talk to economic development that in the future that we consider people that live here first?
And they do.
And I think we did ask that question too, but to Renee and Marty, do we know if anyone local, I mean, at the scope of this project, do we know if we have anybody local that can do that? I mean, you guys do this.
Obviously, we know a lot of local developers, such as Paul, and we have some great ones.
Well, not necessarily local developers, but this.
I'm not really coming to mind, it doesn't come to mind to me somebody with the exact type of skills that
Terry
Steve
Luke,
has.
it doesn't work for McClure anymore. He has a side company that does this exact same thing. You've seen his projects. You had to see him because you looked at him over on the hill, so. And I'm not saying Terry Lutz is the guy. I'm just saying there are people locally, or at least have offices here.
Yeah, that's true.
Thanks.
Anyone else?
Votes called? Oh, I'm bad. I was there waiting for somebody to call.
Passes 3-2. Bertrand and Scott vote no.
Mr. Mayor, real quick, you always like to see explanations. Again, it's not that they don't believe in the project, and I like the idea of thinking big, Renee and Marty. It's not it at all. It's more about the timing for me, the whole thing, the way this thing was bought, the way the whole thing, carrying it 2 years, we don't know who's going to tear it down. We got some minimal environmental, which is good. It's not on you guys. There's a lot of pressure for this property. I just think that we should tap the brakes, see what the local guys can do. And if they can't come up with anything that's big, that thinks big, then let's move on to a consultant like this, and we'll pick him up. But either way, I'm excited about the project, and it passed, and we'll move forward. I support it. It's great.
Citizen concerns. Any citizen would like to be heard, please come to the microphone now. Seeing none, we'll go to Public Works presentation.
Great. Hello, Vicki Baker, Assistant Public Works Director.
Patrick Simons, Field Services Manager.
We were asked to bring you current road gravel practices with some comparative pricing. So I just have a few slides. The current contract is with Hallett Materials located in Anthony, Iowa for $9 a ton for virgin road gravel. Our staff currently hauls that for us 40 days out of the year. They either take it directly to the work site where it is needed, or they take it to 18th Street. This is our annual cost. So we ran material cost, fuel cost, staff cost, wear and tear on the vehicle for a total annual cost of about $113,000.
How much is that a ton? How many tons?
$9 a ton is the current material cost.
No, how much? It's another $10 a ton. Are you saying $9 is all in?
Yeah.
Even with your transport?
So this would be our cost and
No.
material cost.
How,
$9 is the current contract price that we have
Right.
for the material,
how many ton are you buying? You must be buying 5,000 ton?
roughly 5,000,
yeah.
yes, approximately.
We used 5,060.
Need any numbers from
Yes,
guy?
that's my next slide.
Perfect, from guys that just go up there with an empty truck? Perfect.
So current other hauling options were, I do have one hauler interested in hauling the material to his own site, which is about half a mile away from the 18th Street. And then the rest of them, I have 5 additional haulers interested in just transporting the material directly to 18th Street. Now, we would have to still buy the material, so their cost is just the hauling cost.
And what's their cost?
So, do you want me to give you the price for how I got there? Okay, so the hauler offsite storage, he quoted me $12.50 a ton, and the other 5, they were either willing to give me an hourly rate or a per ton rate, but when you back calculated them all, they'd be $10 to $11 a ton.
Plus the material?
We would then have to still buy the material. So their price up there.
What are they selling sand for at Everside?
So this is virgin rock gravel. And virgin rock gravel, this is just rock gravel.
Okay, well, do they have that?
No.
Well, they have it somewhere, because they used to have it at Hickman, so they've got it somewhere.
I believe they were consolidated with another company out of somewhere in the Minneapolis area, so that would have to be trucked in. The current contract that we put out for bid right now that we have with Hallett Material, the next closest bid was with Knife River, and their bid came in at $22.50 a ton, but that was a recycled concrete material. It was not a virgin material. And he gave me a rough estimate that he's approximately at $10 more a ton to truck in that virgin material from the Minneapolis area.
Is there a difference in quality between the virgin material and the crushed rock?
The crushed rock breaks down significantly quicker with traffic. Plus, then you get into the silica dust issues when you're.
From the crushed concrete, you mean?
Correct. So it's an environmental risk at that point.
If we ended up going to the Cherokee place, which is Hallett as well, it'd be $10 a ton. So Anthon is $9.
What's your conclusion?
To me, it's kind of a wash.
So how many people are over the road?
So it depends on the day. Typically, when we, like she touched on, roughly 40 days a year is what we, over a 3-year average, that's what we've consolidated down to. When we do those runs, you're looking at anywhere from 3 to 4 guys that are making those trips.
What's the round trip time?
It's approximately 80 miles. So with turnaround and everything, they're saying it takes about 2 hours. 80 miles round trip.
So they can do about 3 trips a day?
Correct.
At 5 yards a trip?
So
6 yards a trip?
Anywhere from 5 to 6 yards.
What's
Yeah.
a
So they're
side
picking
dump?
up. They're
What's a
picking up
side-
roughly 11 ton.
What's a side dump haul?
22 ton.
Correct. So my question is your wear and tear on the trucks and all that good stuff formulated in here somewhere, or tires or gas or
In our city cost, it is, yeah.
Got all that worked in there?
Yes.
Want to back up to that slide? I saw that expense on there. There you go.
So we're running 5 trucks up and down the road with tires and tires and wear and tear and everything. You're thinking it's gonna be $5,000 wear and tear depreciation on them trucks. My big problem is this. Number one is the liability puts us at running up and down them roads. Number two, the wear and we're taking trucks that don't belong over the road on the road. They're not designed for this. They're not designed for 180. They're just not designed for that. And second of all, it looks like busy work. And so we say that it may be a wash, but, so let me back up, Patrick. What would these guys be doing? What would the staff be doing for those 40 days? Do we have other stuff to do? What other duties do they have? Are they part of the cleanup crew? Are they part of the, who's in charge of the yard down there? And what else can we do?
So that staff would then be circled back into whatever they're doing on their normal road gravel. So you're looking at blading, they're looking at ditch clearing, they're looking at tree trimming, all of that same stuff.
Yeah.
Like you touched on it, this is kind of a busy work day, so it's days when it's inclement weather, when it's cold, something like that, when I don't want guys out, when it's an unsafe situation for them to be out trimming trees. If it's 10 below, I don't really want them out there digging ditches. The ground's frozen and they can't do that. So this fills that gap where the guys can be productive out on the road itself versus just having them sitting around. And I think the cost difference that you're looking at is significantly utilized putting these guys to work. And that allows us more dollars then that we're able to buy more road gravel to then put back out on those roads. You know, just as well as anybody, 5,000 ton is not the amount that we need to be putting out on those roads.
I'm glad you did the math and stuff, but this is paper math, and it's pretty good paper math. To me, I don't see how we think that taking guys up in 5 yards at a time up and down the road in trucks, that we think that that's not, if one truck breaks down, what's an average cost on one truck breaking down?
It depends on the.
Yeah. But I mean, on wear and tear, I mean, you got $5,000 built into a fleet of 4 or 5 trucks going up and down there 3 trips. I mean,
How many trucks a day?
What's that?
How many trucks a day? 3 to 5?
It's not every day.
Yeah, we're looking 40 days out of the calendar year that we're making these trips.
10% of the year.
Anywhere from 3 to 5 trucks is what we would utilize for this.
You figured all the payroll costs in?
Correct.
It's paper, it's great paper math, you know.
I've never thought they should do
I mean,
it,
I've
but
seen an
I'm the
elephant
wrong.
balanced on a napkin.
I always
Do
lose
math.
the argument, so it doesn't matter, but you're gonna haul gravel, you need a side dump anymore.
And we do utilize our one side dump that we have at our disposal.
You don't have another power unit, so you could get another side dump,
Correct.
and you only need one side dump for the Public Works Department.
Currently, yes.
I think to me, the most salient point you made was that you're utilizing your personnel when you don't want them doing the other things they would be doing. You're keeping them busy, materially, providing a source for work that otherwise you'd have to outsource.
Correct. And I know you're touching on the wear and tear on our trucks. We do, it's not just the same 3 trucks that we're running all the time. You know just as well as I.
Yeah, because you got to fix the other ones, because they run up down the road.
We're trying to work through that
trip.
with our CIP that was just approved. We're trying to work through that, but the trucks actually do benefit from those highway miles. We're clearing out the exhaust system that's on those trucks. You know just as well as
Come
I that any truck.
I mean, I like your
in
math. It's
town-
good. I mean, I like your math, and you made your point, but I don't buy it, but the math balances, and you all say it with a tongue in cheek, it's busy work. It's what it is. You know, and I'd rather see that busy work being thrown into stuff, trees, beautification, cleaning up sites. There's just a lot more stuff we could use labor for right now than sending 3 or 4 guys up and down the road for 8 hours of windshield time, delivering 5 yards of gravel, when you can hire a Dell or an Oaks or somebody to run up there with some site. If we need the rock, go up and get the rock, bring it back, and keep these guys, we didn't hire them as a truck driver. But anyway, let's revisit it. Let's just keep an eye on it. It's all we can do.
Can I ask it's going to be a silly question probably, but we have one side dump.
Correct.
So what if one person just ran the side dump for all of the time and the other guys did something else? And you just had one person doing that?
So part of the practice is some of it goes right to the street that it's being applied on, and some of it comes back. The haulers are just willing to go right to 18th Street.
So we couldn't have just one
So
person
you
be the
could.
gravel trucker?
You could if you wanted to stockpile it and go away from taking it right to the streets.
It's a thought.
Yeah.
It's just that operator is also our excavator, our dozer operator. He's the same
He's
grade
the only
3.
one with the,
He's the only grade 3 operator that runs those heavy pieces of equipment.
but you got more than one guy that could run that.
I have one AEO3 in that classification.
We're sending 1,000 trucks up and back, 1,000 trips for 5,000 yards of gravel, 5 yards a pop. It's 1,000 round trips. That's 1,000 chances for a deer to run out, or a car, or slip off the road, or tires, or, I mean, it's government 101 is what it is. But again, government math always seems to work. I think we should explore other options. And what I would like to see is, what would you do? What would we do at the time that if we, let me ask you this, how many hours back up? How many hours would we pick up if they weren't running up and down the road? Man, I tell you, I get these good ideas that pop into my head, and here's one.
Like 4,000 hours.
So what would you guys do with 4,000 man hours if you were handed to you? I mean, once you put a plan together, what you do with 4,000 man hours in 2026? What could we do with that on our roads with tree trimming and ditch digging out and really taking care of some of these taxpayer guys that live on theirs? Because you guys, I mean, we're there, but I would love to see what we can do with 4,000 hours, just for an exercise. It'd be cool. And thank you for what you do.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Park
you.
and Rec. Good.
Okay, Matt Salvatore, Parks and Recreation Director, here today to talk about contract mowing. First wanted to report that we'll be mowing less in 2026 than we did in 2025. These are a list of economic development properties that we are no longer going to be mowing. It's just over 30 acres. This will be contracted out and funded by economic development. This helps us a lot in Parks and Rec. We already have consistent mowing routes using the same operators for those routes. But there is some overlap. This allows us to concentrate on priority park routes. Last presentation, I shared some NRPA statistics, and it shows that we're doing more with less resources, so being able to concentrate more on parks helps quality. We've been evaluating where we can reduce seasonal labor. Here's a list of different areas where seasonal labor is used in our parks. Our greenhouse has 5 seasonals, shelter restroom 4 seasonals, fine mow crews 4 seasonals, trim crews 9 seasonals, right-of-way median mowing is 1 seasonal, Riverside Soccer Complex is 1 seasonal, and Cone Park has 1 seasonal. We looked at what would our criteria be for contract mowing. That would give us the biggest bang for our buck. We looked at size, needs to be a very large number of acres. Not economical for a contractor to be driving all around the city to different various sites where they can just stay in one location all day. Topography, speed and efficiency increases on a relatively flat surface. Accessibility, relatively easy to get to for most contractors. Proven concept, we already do this at Floyd Cemetery, and it has a successful model there. Impact, we want to reduce the impact to the community and park users. So a pilot project could be done at Graceland Cemetery. Below is a breakdown of what that could look like using the cost per acre that we have at Floyd Cemetery. We have 87 acres at Graceland Cemetery. I anticipate 19 mowing cycles, but it could be as much as 20, could be as few as 18. And that would range anywhere between $121,000 to $135,000 using the Floyd Cemetery number. So the pilot project would eliminate all seasonal labor at the cemeteries. Our 2 full-time personnel at Graceland would go to Logan Cemetery. Our FY25 actuals for seasonal labor was just over $88,000. Our FY27 budget for seasonal labor is over $127,000. After a year, if the pilot project was successful, there'd be almost $11,000 in other operational savings, which would be tied to equipment. And of the total possible FY27 savings of $127,000, when we do it, that's for 6 or 7 seasonals for a 6-month period. We're not ever able to achieve 6 full months with our seasonals, so that's why our labor traditionally comes in much less. And using the Floyd Cemetery model, the cost could be anywhere from $121 to $135. I guess the only way to really figure out what that would be to bid it out. So that's our proposed pilot project for contract mowing. Would be happy to answer any questions.
much time did you plug into that?
What do you mean?
How much time did it take you to figure that out?
We worked on it for a solid week.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
Yeah. And also what we would do to evaluate this, we've kind of put together a list of pros and cons. Fixed costs would be pros, consistent labor, future equipment savings. Cons would be customer service, loss of control over the mowing cycles, the trimming cycles, monument damage, reaction time. Full-time trips across town would be, we'd have to use our Logan staff to do interments at Graceland Cemetery, flower, shrub care, tree care, memorial cleanup, our Avenue of Flags program, our wreath program. They would have to come from Logan Cemetery across town to complete those tasks. And then we take care of the Independent Forain, that's a Jewish denomination private cemetery within Graceland. We take care of that for them. They reimburse us costs, cover our time. If they had to contract that out, they would probably pay a significant more amount to contract it out than what we charge.
Doesn't the Syrian church have a separate cemetery, or is that not separate?
I don't think that one, there's some at Floyd and Graceland. Yeah. And the one at Floyd's got the contract mowed by the same contractor.
They've got their area at Graceland, I know.
Yeah, but we take care of it for them. Well, depending on which one, I think there's a couple.
Well, for that savings, I can tell you, I'm not for it, and I'm not for it because I saw what happens when you have private contractors at Memorial Park, and I'm not, for that little bit of savings, I'm not gonna vote for it, just because Memorial Park's a classic example of what happens when you don't have anybody in control of anything, so.
And that one's privately owned, right?
It's privately owned, yes.
Something that I learned from Matt today before the meeting when I asked about the shift of labor is this labor force is separate. So we won't have anybody to shift to utilize their services somewhere else, that resource. You know, because I said, well, we have people that aren't mowing. Are they going to be able to take care of medians or mow right away or do something? And they're separate.
This doesn't free up any of our park
Right,
staff.
it doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. So I somehow forgot that. And
Yeah.
yeah, because it makes you feel like, oh, good, we can spend, because I know parks and cemeteries are always priority before Memorial Day, and then the medians and those kinds of things go after because you want to please the public and we want it to look good. So I was thinking, oh, well, maybe that'll free up people, but it doesn't.
Doesn't.
So Matt, how much savings over 5 years?
I don't know. Well, if you look at what we actually spend on labor, using the Floyd number, there isn't any.
Okay.
Costs us more,
Yeah.
right?
I think what it shows is we're able to do it more efficiently than maybe a contractor would.
Then you couple in some of the cons that you identified, there's really no reason to look into this possibility.
So what's your recommendation?
I would keep it as is. I do like that we're able to concentrate more on parks with economic development, taking some of that off of our plate. I would just keep an eye on this. As far as, I mean, I think we could honestly probably do Floyd Cemetery cheaper than we would contract it out. The problem is there, you have to buy equipment. So I don't necessarily recommend doing anything different at this time. Floyd Cemetery is different because we don't spend a lot of time there for the stuff that I listed during this presentation because there's very services there.
There's what, Matt?
Very few services there. Basically full.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 a year.
So your recommendation is keep all the part-timers, just keep status quo?
For now, yeah.
So if we chewed up all of our, so basically everything we did before, that's all of the river dikes, that's all of the dead space, you got that all worked out, where that's all going to be turned?
So we do that with seasonals. They're not on as, I looked at that, that's not as much of a regular mowing cycle as we would be with parks and cemeteries and trails. So that one, we're not hitting and manicuring like we are these other areas.
So is there any way you can turn it where the same guys mow the same parks?
That's what we do that, but now, again, we do that now, but now we're able to concentrate more on those routes because we're not going to other properties. For the properties I showed you, it takes more to drive there than it does to actually mow the property, so we're cutting down on a lot less of that.
You guys weren't trailering anything before?
Yeah, we do. It depends. It depends on fine mow versus the big bat wings. Yeah.
Well, it's just
It was a
gonna
healthy exercise to go
be
through.
more efficient.
Something to keep an eye on. Yeah. Correct.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Homeless
Thanks,
Task
Matt.
Force.
Afternoon, Rex Mueller Police Department, just giving the Homeless Task Force update. These are given just regarding dates. This is going to be the reporting period January 12th through February 1st. We're always about a week behind because, like right now, Task Force and Crime Analysis are gathering the information that will be given to you at the weekly council update this Thursday, so we're always going to be a little bit behind. So regarding our frequent contact individuals, these are the individuals that we have reported out to you. We identified a specific group of about 20 people that are resistant to services and create a lot of calls for service for the police and the Homeless Task Force. And they have 26 calls for service, actually 45 contacts and 19 arrests out of that. Of those, one has been in jail since January 8th. And one in jail since January 22nd. So those are a small group that we're trying to track, and as I mentioned, those are individuals that are resistant to services. Encampments located during this period of time, 22. Total cleanup operations conducted indicated 14. Outreach and engagement, so this is new individuals that they contact, list 35 individuals, and there's a lot of times that they're making referrals to services there if those individuals are willing, and that could be emergency shelter, case management, mental health services. So the large portion of what the Homeless Task Force does is referrals to services. Obviously, they do default to arrest when that is required, but by and large, what we're looking for is long-term solutions as opposed to a short-term solution, which could be an arrest where the individual's out very quickly. Partnerships and coordination, we have a handful that are our usual partners: Parks and Recreation, Neighborhood Services, MCAT, which is the Mobile Crisis Unit, Keystone Treatment Center, Iowa Department of Corrections, Woodbury County Sheriff's Department, Permar Security, Woodbury County Attorney's Office, Care Initiatives, Hospice, Center for Siouxland Urban Native Center, Rosecrans Warming Shelter, and Rent Sucks. So some new alliances that were listed during that period of time, meaning we've leaned on them for assistance and services. That includes Crittenden Center, Center for Siouxland, Disabilities Resources Siouxland, Molina Healthcare, Winnebago Comprehensive Healthcare System, Mosaic Independent Village, and Pheasant Acres, Hard Rock Casino, Gospel Mission, Soup Kitchen, Care Initiatives Hospice, Crittenden Center, and Center for Siouxland, and Siouxland Native Center. Challenges and barriers seem to be pretty universal for us. Limited affordable housing encampments reestablished in previously cleaned up areas. That's not something that we state here specifically, but you are given the encampment locations or the frequent encampment locations in those report outs. Subjects not wanting available services, meaning we offer or we try to direct individuals to services and they are resistant to those services. Extensive delays with Social Security Administration was listed here, and area businesses, that's one of the things that we're encountering is area businesses that bring in employees and then either don't have employment or these individuals fail. They brought them to our areas and they don't have any safety nets for those individuals, so at times they're becoming part of the homeless community. Now, I've got some...
Chief, if we know the names of the companies that are bringing these individuals to the...
I can think of a few, but I'd have to ask the Homeless Task Force officers which get mentioned.
Do we have follow-up with those prospective employers that aren't following through with bringing individuals to the community and then literally telling them that there's no job and not giving them any support back to the community they came from?
No, to my knowledge, we have not followed up with them. I could certainly ask.
I would think that that might be a good idea.
Okay. I've got a handful of success stories, if you'd like me to gloss over those quickly. Otherwise, they are in the weekly council update so that you can have those. Those are the things that lead us to believe that we are having some success. As I've mentioned, if we provide a pathway to somebody, and it's a pathway out of homelessness to employment to housing, then logically we would not be dealing with those people on a repeat basis on normal calls for service as we are dealing with homelessness and vagrancy issues. So I'll just...
Can we hear a couple of the?
Yeah, sure. I will read a couple from the past week. Task force members located multiple occupied camps and conducted and referred several to services. There's more details about those because they have referred them to appointments, so they want to report back with some success stories. Members are continuing to work together with long-term services for a homeless male party. Homeless task force members are currently in steps of securing a sober living for his exit from treatment. An opening was located, an interview has been completed, arranging appointments with Iowa Works for Employment. A male individual is also flown to Sioux City for a job orientation. This is one of those situations we're talking about. During that orientation, it was advised they were no longer interested in employing them. They transported them to a bus station, abandoned with no money to buy a ticket or return home.
Can we just pause for a moment?
Yes.
Said the individual was flown here?
It says, yes, they were flown here for a job orientation. That's what the report out says. And during the orientation, it's advised they were no longer going to be employed. So what we're seeing the task force do in situations like this is a lot of hand-holding. They might be working with them to get records so that they can get licenses, get employment. They might be taking them to appointments or arranging for trips to appointments. They might be arranging, in this case, they arranged transport back to Mississippi, where this person was from, and had resources back there. So a lot of times what I'm seeing from the task force is that they're basically picking up the pieces. They're doing things or directing people to organizations that can provide those resources so that we actually have meaningful solutions. So
I'm going to jump on Craig's bandwagon here and say shame on these employers for leaving these people in this situation. How do you fly someone here and then you dump them off at a bus depot?
Well, and keep in mind, if we don't backtrack, this is what we're being told. So in some cases, I'm sure they have no reason to tell us that if it's not the case. I have no doubt that we have people that are being brought here for employment, either unsuccessful in that employment, and then because they don't have resources, they're becoming part of the homeless community. We know those happen. Have we tracked who are the largest offenders? Have we verified? Have we gotten with those companies? I can't say that we have in many cases. We're trying to be solutions-oriented, and whether or not the businesses that are doing that would be receptive is
I can almost guarantee I know who one of those companies are, and I think they provide, I don't necessarily believe that story.
And that's what I said. I mean, I would agree, Mr. Mayor.
Shocking.
That's what they're telling us, and so that's what they're reporting out.
Well, I think the issue is that once they hire someone and then that person is no longer employed with them is when that situation comes up. But if it's for an interview situation, and first and foremost, Chief, thank you for your report. We've talked extensively about this situation, and you know, some of the things that I want to know, because as I hear and listen to this and read this every week, the sustainability of what this is, and I did ask you for, you know, what does this look like for your officers as it relates to dealing with a person that you may have to take to jail or take to the hospital or what have you. But, you know, what are we looking at? You know, as I read through their report and think about, you know, your encampments, it seems like a consistent, you know, you break up one encampment, but then, you know, it's somewhere else the next day. And so, you know, I think your report said you had 9 or broke up or cleaned up 4 of them, and then there was, you know, 5 more, you know, the next day or whatever. But limited affordable housing, that seems like that's an issue that you're running into, especially as it relates to people who do want help and those things. And there was just a couple of other things, but the big question is sustainability. What does that look like? And I know you probably can't answer for all the partners, but just even for your staff.
So at one point in time, we would gauge our, by cost per police action. And that was, you know, depending if it's a 2-officer call for service, that officer's wages, the cost of the squad car, things like that. We used to gauge that. Well, we have dedicated 2-officer positions to this. So, it depends on long-term, and we're not the only city department involved. So the question would be, from a financial standpoint, sustainability, city resources, separate those from some of the other providers that are partnering with us, utilizing their resources. So obviously, figuring out city resources would be relatively easy for us to coordinate with Parks and Rec, to coordinate with field services, neighborhood services, and determine what they're allocating to this. One of the early discussion points was, as we refined this concept, was how much time was needed. So we knew that when we started and brought all the partners together that we wouldn't need every partner for 5 days a week, 8 hours a day. We realized that, especially seasonal, some of these things are seasonal. So part of the reason for continuing this trial is for us to determine just what involvement is needed to be effective, and then make recommendations to the city council as to what we think the city resource or the city buy-in is going to be if we want to continue this project. And those are things that can be answered, but I would say that if we give estimates now, they're based on a process that we're still kind of shaping. And those are report outs. Obviously, the city manager is very active in that. It's under his charge, and we try to be very transparent as to how much resources are being used by each city department, but we're all just a piece of the puzzle. The police department is just one piece of this task force puzzle, and when it comes to some of the private and other organizations, they're another piece that we have kind of drafted in to assist us with this issue.
Absolutely, thank you. And and just to your point with City Manager Mike, we know that it's working because, Mike, you shared with, we had a visitor into the Warrior Hotel, and they noticed and even asked the question, do you have a homelessness problem? And so thank you for the work that you're putting in. And the questions will keep coming, and we'll keep looking at this issue. We know it's not a zero-sum game, though.
No, and it's a lot of problem solving, and we have a good crew on it. We just, because we saw this continuing, we opened up the 2 positions for the officers to reapply for that. We got one of the same officers and a new officer that are going to team up, and that is figuring out what works. That's a large portion of it, is for these folks to work together, determine how they best use their time, what the hot spots are, what's effective, what's not. And there's some things that they do every day the same, but they also have to be adaptable. As they encounter some of these issues, they have to realize that maybe what we need to do is, as this said, is find somebody a way to get to an appointment, or get a new ID card, or do something that will be lowering that barrier to them succeeding and not needing the assistance or public assistance. So they're very good at problem solving, and they're doing a very good job, but I'd say this is an evolutionary thing. Every day it changes a little bit, and as the weather gets warmer, I guarantee the mission will change.
Well, that's what's going to lead. That's where it leads into my questions with you, Chief. Is number one, I do think we are making headway. So thank you for what you're doing, and thanks to the guys on the ground. And because I think what you're seeing is the feedback getting from the private sector is downtown is starting to push into the perimeter. I'm sure you're fielding a few calls that we're finding some homeless people now that are spilling out farther outside the downtown area and starting to squat in more private properties. I know I took a few calls this week on that. So my question is, the officer gets called there. So again, there's never been a more heightened awareness for services and for reach out. So I think the people that want help are getting help. And I think you guys are nailing that part of it. Now we're going to run into the phase of people that don't want help. That's where I think that's the next phase of this thing, and they're starting to spill off. So you got an individual that goes and squats on somebody's private property or private business, and they call in, and we go down there and we shake them off. Well, now they're on private property. Now they're not on public property. So now that's trespassing, and that is a ticketable offense. So the difference between spooking somebody off of the sidewalk and maybe they're trespassing now into a private neighborhood, into a private piece of property or private business. So that I would just say, open your mind, open the task force evolves from a ticketing or whatever perspective as they spill out of downtown. If they're on private property, they should be treated like they're trespassing. I don't care how small the misdemeanor is, how it's a process that makes them understand what they're doing is wrong. The other question I have is from these encampments, what's the actual process that's in place when an encampment shows up. So let's use an example, right across from table 32 down there. I don't know if that's the 404th Street one. Is that the encampment down there? Is that the one across from table 32? That's been sitting there. It's a mattress, a chair, a little tent, and it's right when you drive into Sioux City, there she sits, and it's been there for about 13 days. And every day I go by it, I just kind of go, huh. And so my question is I know there's certain things we have to post for if there's a golf or a cart there or something like that. Walk me through the process of an encampment is identified, or Ike or Craig or Julie drives by, or the mayor drives by an encampment and says, there's an encampment. Because once you get ahead of this thing, we want to stay ahead of it with warm weather. So what's the process of taking those down efficiently?
Well,
and who are the players?
And that's the challenge, is because people, even homeless people, have a right to be secure in their persons, places, and things. So if there is something, an encampment that looks like it's been established, then it is appropriate to post that. You can't just, even though somebody doesn't have a home, we can't always just dig up their belongings and throw those away.
Yeah,
we
I get
need
that.
to
What's the
do
process?
our best. So what happens is, a lot of times it starts with a police report, and then those referrals are made over to field services, who then posts, and they have a big tire that's got the sign, that has the notice, that has the dates. They post it by that encampment, so that individual is aware that that encampment is not lawful where it's at, and it gives them a period of time that they need to get it cleaned up. If it doesn't happen within that period of time, city departments go out and do that, initiate that cleanup. If it works out, what we have been doing is coordinating with Homeless Task Force. Now, I will tell you that some of these issues, some of the criminal issues, that's not the sole purpose of the task force officers. We encourage and try to stay on our patrol officers, and Watch 3, the overnight shift, has been doing a very good job of hitting those parking ramps and stairwells and locations where people would squat or go for warmth, and address those before people get up in the morning. So the task force has a very specific mission, but they don't relieve the rest of our patrol operations from addressing the issues, and we've encouraged them to do that, and I've seen that happen. We've talked to the patrol officers and the watch commanders, and they're making that a priority too. But keeping in mind that you are always just moving the problem. I think you brought it up well. We deal with an encampment here, it will show up somewhere else. But we need to deal with the problem in a lawful manner. So as we address them, as we lawfully address them, we can move them. Now, there are times where it's ambiguous, where you have a pile of stuff that was just left there, and that's questionable. Is that an encampment? And we expect people to make good judgment calls so we're not destroying people's property, but at the same time, we have to keep the city clean. We have to address encampments in a timely manner. I would say a lot of it's like graffiti. The quicker you get at it, the more effective you can be.
So going into warm weather, I mean, I guess from a process standpoint, how many days does it take when you see something pop up? You get a phone call from Ike and he says there's an encampment here. And how long does it take to get that encampment gone? With posting and everything?
It depends on, I can't speak for other departments. If we get called, it's going to get written up right away, and then there's.
So you refer it to who then? Is it Matt? Is it who? What department?
Well, Kelly Box folks are the ones who get routed, so yeah.
Okay. Well, that one at table 32 has been there a while. But no, it's good. The second thing, and then we'll let you go, is again, thank you again for your time, is as we transition, I think the downtown part of it, the homeless, again, the people that want the help, it's there. So now we're the people that don't want the help. Second thing is the little bit of the loitering and the street things that we had a little episode today again. You know, again, if some of our businesses are providing an opportunity for the loitering, and I'll just call it out, the brass rail in those areas, you got 5 guys sitting outside drinking beer today, hanging outside of respectful businesses. The businesses are tired of it. They pick up the phone, they call me, and then I blow up you guys. So I guess my question is, then you flushed officers, which was great, which is fantastic, and they get over there and, no, there's no open containers, just get off the street, we'll see you tomorrow. So what's our enforcement when it comes to, like you said, open container on the streets or public intoxication? Or it's going to get warm? Is that the next phase of this mission?
So again, that's the balance. If the officers go there and there is a public offense being committed, now we have to be very careful because loitering in itself is, we've talked about kind of where that is in the strata of criminal activity. Usually where trespass becomes an actual criminal issue is if the trespassing itself is paired with another criminal act. So those are a bit easier. Otherwise, at the state level, they have decriminalized just simple trespass. It's a fine. They will not hold them. So officers understand that. Couple that with another offense, we could make public intox arrest. In fact, times we'll have individuals drive the paddy wagon, and we'll address those by group arrests if that's the case. Open container, it's a citation. I mean, you can do that. Can you make an arrest? Yes. But again, one of the things that the officers have to try to figure out is where do we get our most of our bang for the buck? Where can we take action and get the best result in the shortest period of time? Because they know, and we have unfortunately trained them, that at times when you go through the process of making the arrest and individuals are out quicker than your paperwork is, the ink on your paperwork is dry, we train our staff. That shows our staff that what they're doing isn't effective. So we're trying to address things. Captain Groves and I have an upcoming meeting with the judges to see where they stand, because regardless of our enforcement, it comes down to the judges. We're just part of the process. And as these things get to prosecutors and get to judges, our judgment as to what should happen isn't always going to match with what the magistrates do. So we hope to communicate the work of this task force so that they understand that we are trying alternatives, and they understand that we're not just defaulting to an arrest, but when we do default to an arrest, we need some support. We need some of these individuals held because they are some of those frequent offenders that are resistant to services. So we'll see how those meetings go. Captain Groves did have meetings with the hospitals, as I mentioned, referenced in one of the updates to the council, to try to address some of our concerns with speeding the process up.
Do you feel like you're on the right trail? Ideally, this would be great. This council is now putting pressure. It's beyond what we're doing now. They're just letting him out. But the pressure goes to the judges, and that's the next step. My question is, do you feel like that? Do you feel that the homeless community or the panhandling community is feeling the pressure at all? Do they feel the difference in the last 6 weeks?
I think, from what I've heard, the ones that are receptive of services will look for the officers, and that's good, because for those wanting referrals and wanting a pathway out, they see the officers as an ally, as opposed to trying to get away from us. Now, the ones that are resistant to services, I would hope that enforcement activity is modifying their bad behavior. I mean, that's why you do enforcement. That's why you write speeding tickets, to modify behavior. I would hope that the enforcement portion of our activity, and it's not just the task force. In fact, they're, like I said, they have a very specialized expectation as far as what we want them to do. But the enforcement piece, you would hope, the purpose of that is to modify behavior, is that if somebody's engaging in antisocial or bad behavior that's impacting quality of life, that by us doing enforcement
So do you think
action,
we're feeling the pressure for 6 weeks?
I would like to think so, but I would hope so. I think that having dedicated officers to this has got to have an impact.
Chief, I think you're doing great work. Absolutely. As I've shared with you over the course of the last 3 or 4 months, and as I've shared with Mike, I don't believe that this is your responsibility. I don't think that the Sioux City Police Department should have to assume the responsibility or necessarily has the resources to deal with this at its origin. What you're dealing with now is the end result of encampments and trespass and loitering, and you're doing a great job of managing those issues. But I think what I'd like to see, and I think I can speak for the council, is that we need to figure out a way to try and address these issues from inception. And that's why I think we need to continue to identify the stakeholders and continue to work with them, allow you to continue to do the very good work that you're doing, but more importantly, identify who the primary source of responsibility should be, and then work within our community to get these issues addressed.
And I think you're seeing that. In fact, if you look at the part of the report where it says new partners, we're identifying people every day, like Veterans Affairs, Veterans Administration, that can provide a solution in cases where we never even know that resource existed. So I agree. I think the most revealing thing about establishing this task force has been the fact that we've identified a lot of community partners, and we've also been able to understand the barriers that they face. At times we would ask ourselves, why aren't they doing anything about this? Well, there are barriers to every part of this equation, not just law enforcement, but everybody has barriers, whether it's financial, whether it's the law, whether it's just resources, and we're trying to address those. But I think bringing people together and having the conversations has been tremendously effective.
Understood. Thank you.
I would agree with that. And I think I was very happy to see Mosaic added to your list. And Craig and I went to a meeting on homelessness, and they gave a presentation. And so, yeah, just as everyone else has said, great job. And we'll continue to, support and see how we can keep.
Well, and again, our hope is if you see value in this, if we're good enough about recording our successes and giving you a report back, I think the dedication, as opposed to these groups like us and field services and Parks and Rec, where it was more response-based. I think the fact that we're out there every day is providing a quicker response to these issues. I think it's providing faster solutions. I think the communication opening up, the partnerships, I think it's doing things that we've never done before. We've always been fractured, and everybody's, I hate to use the buzzwords, but in our silos, and I think we're tearing down silos and hopefully directing people to meaningful solutions, because, as we've said, we're not going to cure the problem. If we think this is going to cure it, that suddenly we're going to be devoid of homelessness, that's not going to happen. We're still going to have homelessness. It's how we approach it and what kind of solutions that we offer. So we're just trying a different approach.
Thanks, Chief. Oh, man, I can take eggs.
Evening, everyone, and thanks for the invitation to address this august body tonight. So, actually, I do welcome it. Given the, we'll be back together again for general operating budget here in a couple weeks. I think this is an opportunity to give you some additional information. I know the museum usually we're about 10 to 15 minutes in general operating, so maybe I can get some information to you that you won't have to have in a couple weeks. So a little history, I just want to give a little history about the museum, how we got to where we are. The museum's roots go back to the 1800s. Started off as the Sioux City Lyceum. It was a study group, kind of academics. It evolved into the 1880s into the Academy of Science and Letters. That's when they began to be collectors. They also brought in speakers. As they began to collect more, they had to have some place to store it, to show it. So slowly they started to become little miniature museums around the city, sometimes in a city hall, sometimes in a post office. So eventually, they literally ran out of room. And in 1939, because of the WPA, Works Progress Administration, and the Lions Club, they approached the city and said, look, we can find some money. How about having an official city department? So in 1939, the museum established the museum as a department, hired at that time they called it a curator, and then they located it at the Carnegie Library at 6th and Jackson, basically a block away from where we're at now. So a couple people might remember it being in the library on this group, but certainly remember the library being up at 6th and Jackson. So from 39 to 59, they kept collecting. They were starting to store things off-site. Also had little auxiliary museum sites in the post office and in the police department. Read a report once where some guns got stolen out of the exhibit at the police department. So it was generally felt it needed something else. So in 1959, the Junior League of Siouxland donated the Pierce Mansion, 2901 Jackson Street, to be used for the museum. So it took a couple of years to get it ready. So in 1961, the 2901 Jackson became the official face of the Sioux City Public Museum. Served its purpose well, kept collecting, started to have a couple off-site storage locations, Central High after Central left. Not ideal, but it was workable. And then the Pearl Street location also got refurbished and became another storage facility. There were a couple attempts to have fundraising to find a new site. Those didn't work out for one reason or another. But before that happened, the museum took control of the Sergeant Floyd Welcome Center and River Museum. So the Sergeant Floyd on the riverfront, the Sergeant Floyd was built in 1932 as a working barge up and down the river. Harry Truman was on it. You might know the history of that. It's on the National Registry of Historic Places. So the museum worked with the convention center, the old CCAT, and in 1997, the city council transferred the operating authority to the museum. Denny Gann managed to get away with one, and because at that time, and Denny, I've said this to Denny, so all the personnel were supposed to go over with the boat at that time. Denny managed to keep some of those hours over at the convention center. Hard to believe, I know anybody that knows Denny, so, but it was a good thing for the museum. Actually, I thought a very good thing. I was not there at the time. Good thing for the Welcome Center. So it's been with us since that time. So museum continues to grow, and I came on about 2001, and one of the goals at that time with the board and the trustees and others was to start looking again at the potential of moving. So around 2008, it was decided, not just by museum stakeholders, but also community people, that perhaps the time was now, 2008, for a capital fundraiser to relocate the museum. And we looked at a lot of places. We settled in on the former J.C. Penney building, one of them at 674th Street. And the city struck a deal to buy that property for $600,000 in cash and $150,000 in land swap. TET was the acronym, book in Davenport. So it was a pretty good deal. And I think it's a good example of what the city can do in buying a property and doing it right. So anyway, we get that. We raised $12 million, most of it private funds and or state monies too. And so we get that. In the design process, we always planned on leasing out part of that property. The museum didn't need the whole property. We were getting ready to design the museum to be half on one, half on two, and Northwest Airlines came along and said, we'd like to have second floor. It's like, really? Well, that's great. So Northwest Airlines, they didn't want all of second floor, as it turned out. So got that. They were starting to make payments to the city. The museum went back to the design board, went all on first floor, which turned out to be a good deal for us. As you know, Northwest Airlines left the city. Fast forward a little bit, the school district came forward, and we had approached them years before, and when Larry Williams was superintendent, Larry just didn't think the time was right for him to move into that building. Well, the time became right, so the school district purchased the building from the city, and I gotta make sure I have the right number. The city sold it, or Museum Property Inc., which basically was the city, sold to the school district for $1,530,000. So we went from basically a $750,000 investment, made some improvements along the way on the upper facade, sold to the school district for $1.5 million, which was still a good deal. The museum received a 50-year lease for our space for $1 a year. And then we also split part of the utilities, 55-45 on utilities, and also for those repairs that are relevant to us. Let's say if a roof happened or something, we'd pay a percentage of that. The elevators, the split is 85-15. We really don't use the elevators that much. So we occupy most of the first floor, and then we occupy 12,000 square feet on third floor. A lot of people don't realize there's a third floor to that building because you just don't see it. We have 12,000 square feet on the west side of the building. The school district also has 12,000 square feet. We use that for storage for bigger items, stuff that we probably won't show right away, but it's good historical deal, like the old Sovac sign off of on Pearl Street. Didn't want to lose that. not sure what we'll do with it, but at least we have it. So keeping things like that. So it's worked out well. There were little growing pains there. The school district's been a good landlord, and I think we've been a good tenant. So that's how we got to where we are, why we have the Welcome Center. We still have control of the Pierce Mansion, and then, of course, downtown site. So that brings us to date. I don't want to go over the annual report again, but during the capital campaign, we made some commitments. Our mantra when we were out raising that money, we told people we wanted to expand our impact in the community. And one of the reasons we went downtown, why we picked J.C. Penney's building, there was about anywhere from a 60 to 70% vacancy rate downtown. I mean, shoot a can, I think you all know that. Badger Building empty, Maury Raymond's, I mean, you had to look hard to find a place that was occupied. We thought we could be part of the solution. I think we have been. When you look at the Badger Building, not that we had anything to do with the Badger Building, but the infill has been pretty incredible. And we've enjoyed the success of that infill. So we told the community we wanted to expand our impact. We wanted to be a community meeting place, not just indoors, but outdoors. That plaza space, we did not sell that space to the school district. We kept that. We wanted to use that. I mean, we all know there are not very many green spaces downtown. So it's been valuable for us. And then the commitment we made to the city council at the time was that even though we would exponentially grow our programs and our exhibit spaces and everything else, we would limit our growth in the budget. So our staffing since then, we increased staffing, maintenance staff by a couple half-time positions. Other than that, that's all we increased in staff. And then, of course, the utilities. We all knew the utilities would be higher than what they were at the Pierce Mansion. So I think we've kept that promise. The other thing, we wanted to be a regional cultural destination. And each year, our numbers have grown, and we've seen more and more people, word of mouth, tri-state area and beyond, adult tour groups. So
just on that part right there, is there any, I mean, what are you doing as far as marketing to outside of city limits as well as inside? I mean, I heard you say word of mouth. Are we doing anything outside of word of mouth, or?
Are we marketing?
The museum and what's going on?
Well, to a limited degree, if you look at our city budget, our marketing and advertisement is pretty minimal, and same way with our association budget. So we rely heavily on free publicity, word of mouth. Word gets out. So
I assume you are pretty active with social media, though.
Very. So our low bar is COVID. Everybody can use that as a low bar. I mean, our numbers went down. We were only closed for a couple of months, but it was substantial during the spring, our busy year. The silver lining, one of the few silver linings of COVID, is we upped our game on the social media part of it. And I'm not a social media person. I mean, I'll do Facebook. The rest of the stuff I don't do. But we have a part-time person who is engaged in that. And I said to her today, I was going to mention, I said, I just need to confirm that the almost $1 million social digital impressions is accurate. She goes, actually, we're over that this year. It's like, seriously. So we're talking about Facebook, Twitter. We don't do TikTok that I'm aware of, but I don't anyway. But I mean, it's just growing so exponentially, and that's good because a lot of that is a younger demographic. And when I'm talking about high school and up. Slowly we're growing. We've grown steadily since the COVID year. So if you look in the annual report, you can see, but our COVID year, we dipped down to 28,000 attendance, 28,152. Last year, and it's in the annual report, we bounced back up to 70,140. A good share of our audience is school groups. So with just school groups, the number of kids that came through was about 7,674. I say about, we do a hard count on attendance, everybody coming through. We don't guess it both here and at the boat. With school groups, we keep track of that. On the average day like this weekend, when we were slammed with the Lunar New Year deal, we had over 500 people in. We don't separate adults and kids. It just doesn't work that easy, but it was great to have a lot of families in there. So we do get a lot of school groups, and anymore, it's not just Sioux City School District. It's the tri-state area. We get school groups from Nebraska, from South Dakota. As far east as Storm Lake, we've had some Sac City, Pipestone this last year. It's been fun watching it grow because we try to treat everybody right. Let them use lunch space, we give them free parking. So we're slowly keep growing, and that's a good thing. Our annual events, car show, Lewis and Clark encampment, fourth grade history projects. We've been real fortunate. Some of the highlights, our reaccreditation was a big deal. The museum was first accredited in 1974 at the old place. Probably would not be accredited today up there. It just wouldn't be. Standards keep rising. We're one of only, I think, 3 museums in the state that have been accredited for that long. So along with the Arts Center, the Police Department, Fire Department, Museum, and the library also has certification. The city can be pretty proud that we've all gone that extra step to meet national standards. So we've had some great temporary exhibits. Last summer, we had the dinosaur exhibit by local collectors. It was huge. It's going to be hard to match that, especially at the price point. Darren Mauer and Brian Buckmeyer treated us more than generous on that. We've had touring exhibits. We try to split our temporary exhibits between traveling exhibits and curate them in-house. Obviously, if we curate in-house, it's much cheaper, and it gets to show our collection. But we had several national ones that truly have been, I would say, of national quality. I know one, the Thomas Mangelson exhibit and the National Wildlife Artist, both currently are down at the Phoenix Zoo now, but they've been traveling the nation. So we've done a pretty good job. The real traveling exhibits, and they're not out there right now, but like a King Tut or something, are just so crazily priced. I mean, we're talking $500,000. It's just out of our reach, King Tut or something like that. But there are a lot of other ones out there that we work with, a group out of Kansas City that are more moderately priced that we try to work with. And then, and we keep looking for those. We try to keep loosey-goosey on some of our schedules. So like the firm we use out of Kansas City, they'll get an opening that, oh, so we got this slot, can you fill it? And we might be able to. So we get it at a bargain rate, maybe 30% of what their rack rate is. So that's good for us and it's good for them. That's how we actually have our current temporary exhibit, Walking in Antarctica. We got it that way. So as far as being a community meeting place, more and more different city groups use it, police department uses it, human resources, Human Rights Commission uses it often. And then our policy is we want groups in our facility as long as it doesn't interfere with our programming. Education's still our key priority, but if we have the space available, groups during the day, nonprofit groups can use that for free. We want people to be able to get into the museum and use it. Blind Federation, League of Women Voters, Car Club, just to name a few. So major improvements in the last 3 years. We replaced our first permanent exhibit. We replaced that with a sports exhibit, which I was really happy with because to me, sports in Siouxland really showcases the diversity in Siouxland. Every strata, male, female, pick your ethnic. And we got the firm out of Minneapolis, Minneapolis to actually do the construction, but we used the same firm that did the original design for the museum, Hilford and Associates. Cost a good deal of money, but it looks great. We also utilize part of the old Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame that was down at the auditorium on the first floor that a lot of people didn't ever see. They were getting moved out, so we absorbed their materials. I think we did a great job, and it just has added a lot of color, a lot of zap to it. So, but it was costly, and it was 98% was private monies, and it was over $300,000. So, well, we don't advertise that. We quietly went out and raised the money, and community's been very good to us. It wasn't the capital campaign, very good for us when we're looking for exhibits like that. So, coming up, well, in the CIP, we had that $100,000 for tech replacement. We've done a lot of tech replacement. We have more to do. It's 15 years old, so it's just wearing out. So we've been nursing it along. So we feel pretty good about that. Our educational programming is up. So we're feeling good, but as I tell our staff, there's always room for improvement. We can expand, we can do better. We're limited along as far as staffing wise. I ask a lot of all the staff and they give a lot, but they love their jobs too. So we feel good about that. Our attendance has steadily increased since the COVID year, which is what you hope. So I don't want to drown you with the numbers, but I'll leave it at that. If there's any questions, open her up.
Report, Steve. Good report.
Thank you.
Attendance on the boat.
What's that?
Your attendance on the boat.
It'll be right around 20 to 23,000. It peaked on the way back in the Lewis and Clark, and then which we kind of expected it would, and it's slowly building back up. It's its own unique destination. We'll see more down there in the summer and fall, spring times, and then it dies off this time of year. But then when it peaks up, it goes. So once again, we do a hard count inboard there. We don't count the people that are out having a picnic or walking by. That's not right. We'll count our car show people, but so it serves a pretty good purpose. And it's, for a lot of people, it's really is the key. They're welcome to Sioux City. They'll stop by because it's a welcome center. Get the information. What I'd like to do is with the travel group is to develop a better relationship with them now. Maybe with a new person on. The last two, it was tenuous to say the least. We reached out to them and we think we can be of help to them. We really think they can be of help to us.
You're talking about Explore Siouxland, right? Or who? You said travel.
Well, the
Explore Siouxland.
yeah. I just went blank on it. On the previous person that was there. I just went blank on the person's name that went to Texas, I think.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So
Thanks, Steve.
we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
See you then.
Council concerns, Rick?
No council concerns. When I listen to the presentations, the city's running pretty perfect. So I'm looking forward to the operational budget process. Also next week, I know Tom wasn't here, Pingo wasn't here. I'll make sure he's on the agenda next week. I want to talk about the smell. Mr. Mayor, Saturday morning, I eat one donut a week on Saturday mornings. And I got up Saturday morning and I went down to Casey's and I got a hot white donut and I threw it in the truck and I was headed down to Singing Hills and I drove by the sewer plant and I had a gagged a maggot. It stunk so bad. And threw my donut out the window and I said, man, oh man. So I called Tom.
Did you hear that? That's litter.
Yeah, no, it was edible though. It was edible though. So the chiefs there were good there. And what I chewed up. And I called Tom and he said, I'll send somebody down and throw some deodorizer in there. So by no means am I trying to instruct anybody what to put chemicals in the system or anything. But I want Tom to address that next week, and that's got to stop. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that next week and where we're at with phase one and what can be done there. Also, I enjoyed the chief's update. I thought that was great. I'm looking forward to permits. I think it's next week, right? We're there, and the homeless thing. The encampments, I think they need to be more aggressive, but that's a discussion for another day. But other than that, I look forward to a good week.
Greg?
I eat two donuts a day and I don't throw any of them away. Just thought I'd let you know that.
One a week.
One a week. A couple of quick items. There was quite a bit of, Chief, there was quite a bit of follow-up last week on the UTV, ATV issues. I did follow up with the council and with you to share that information. I don't know what our timeline is for further discussion, just so that we keep that on some track to engage in further discussion, since I had a number of reach outs last week, okay?
It's a council decision. We'll be here to give you our opinion, but
great.
Whatever you need.
Okay, thank you. Ike and I will be going to Des Moines on Thursday with the chamber for their legislative day. I know we got an email today on the convention center doors, some frustration of people trying to get in over the weekend to the convention center from some of the ramps of the hotels, and the doors were locked, and people had to redirect how they were getting in.
Skywalk level.
Skywalk, yes, skywalk level. And then Captain, I know you've had us looking at the license plate readers. I know that Nicole gave us an update on the legislation in Des Moines, and there was some commentary on issues with regard to the license plate readers. I just want to make sure that as you're proceeding with your team on license plate readers, that you're not going to run into any hurdles with any pending litigation with the state. And if you have any questions, maybe you can ask Nicole.
Ryan Bertrand, Captain. Yeah, agreed. We're monitoring it, keep an eye on it. Latest update I saw today just on a thread was there's a pretty organized group of police chiefs that are resisting the House file, be just overly restrictive, and the safeguards are already in place. The restrictions really don't impact the safeguards that are already in place. So there's an organized fight on behalf of the police chiefs against it. So I'll keep you guys posted, and I am keeping all that in mind.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then the final item, I've had a couple reach outs asking for updates on the Promenade Theater and the issues they're having. They understand that it's not directly a city issue, but I think people are wondering if the city has any engagement or involvement. So if we could get maybe an update, or if there is anything to learn, so we can keep everybody posted on any activity at the Promenade. Okay. Thank you, that's it.
Again, I just, it's nice to get these reports and to hear those things, and I look forward to that. I also just want to thank the Sioux City PD for clarifying what happened last week with the federal officers and the situation with that. Obviously, we want to make sure we keep an eye on what's going on in our city with that. And like Craig said, just a few notices in terms of the skywalk situation and those things. But yeah, as always, I just want to thank city staff for all that you do and the work that you put in every day showing up.
Okay. I have nothing further. I don't have anything for the good of the group. That's it.
Motion to adjourn.
Berenstein?
Aye.
Bertrand?
Aye.
Rayford?
Aye.
Shaner?
Aye.